We're going to do a plug-and-play remote starting system using a Subaru T-harness, the SUB3. We're going to be doing it on a key-start vehicle. All the vehicles that this video applies to are listed in the description. I'm going to go ahead and get started by removing the cover panel from the side of the dash. I'm going to go ahead and we're going to remove the Phillips screw located right here. We're going to unclip the dash. We're going to unplug all the plugs to the switches. We're going to extend the steering wheel to its full outmost position and lock it. We're going to remove the Phillips screw from both sides of the steering column cover plastic. Now we're going to recenter the wheel, shut the key off, and remove it from the ignition. We're going to go ahead and we're going to pop the steering column cover plastic off. Apply pressure to the seam on both sides and remove the steering column cover plastic. We're going to install our ignition wiring harness. Unplug the ignition switch. I'm going to go ahead and plug the T-harness into the ignition switch, making sure it locks. And we're going to plug the harness that we removed from the ignition switch into the other side of the T-harness. I'm going to route the ignition wire harness down above the airbag so it comes out behind the fuse box. We're going to install our secondary harness. We're going to need to access the rear of the fuse panel. We're going to go ahead and we're going to remove the 3 10mm bolts that hold the fuse box in place. In order to get a little bit more room, we're going to remove this 10mm and take off the hood release bracket. We're going to remove the Phillips screw. I'm going to go ahead and pop off the plastic piece here. I'm going to remove the 2 10mm nuts that hold the airbag on. I'm going to go ahead and we're going to let the airbag hang. We'll hang by the diagnostic plug. Don't pull on it. We don't want to damage the wiring. Now we can go ahead and we can move the fuse box down out of the way. We can also access plugs behind the fuse box. So we're going to be plugging our T-harness into plug number 2, located right here. We're going to go ahead and we're going to unclip and unplug the plug. We're going to now plug our T-harness plug into the spot where we removed the plug. We're going to make sure it clicks in and locks. And then we're going to plug the plug that we removed from the back of the fuse box into the other side of our T-harness. So we're at the last part of the installation. We're going to do an interruption. An interruption is where you locate a wire, you cut the wire, and you connect to both sides of the cut. It's an either-or scenario. Behind the fuse box, there's a junction plug, and we're either looking for red and white at the junction plug, or vehicles without an immobilizer control, we're looking for white and light blue at this gray immobilizer plug plugged into the back of the fuse box. So we're going to see which one this vehicle has. So the fuse box is down. We're looking at the gray junction plug shown in the schematic. And down here The very bottom corner, there is a gray plug on the back of the fuse box. So it's right down here, the very corner plug on the bottom. So first we're going to check under here for our red wire with a white stripe. So we're going to start by lifting up on the lever. When we do this, the plug will come out. I'm going to go ahead and we're going to remove the plug. And we're going to pop the cover off of the plug. You look on the side, there's little tabs. We're just going to pull the cover plastic up over the tab and release this cover so we can look under it. So we got 4 tabs we're going to pull back. And we're just going to pop the cover right off the plug. So if you look, there's the tabs that we pulled out on to allow the cover to come off. So we're going to check for the red wire with a white stripe located at pin 36 inside the junction plug. So we've moved the wires, and if we look here at this green plug, 3 terminals in, 1, 2, 3, it is empty. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to put this back together, and we're going to check the gray plug plugged into the back of the fuse box. So we're going to go ahead, we're going to just snap the cover back on. Make sure we get all our wires in there. We're going to plug the plug back in. We're going to start it with our hand, and then we're going to draw the plug in by pulling the lever back down and locking it. So we're just going to tip our fuse box a little bit this way so we can see the gray plug right here. So our gray plug is located right here. We're going to go ahead and we're going to unplug the gray plug. So we've unplugged the gray plug and we have it pulled straight down. We're going to go ahead and we're going to remove the tape and plastic covering from the wires so we can access our wires. Now the instructions say vehicles without a mobilizer control unit, we're going to be looking for a white with light blue located at pin 14. We're going to go ahead and we're going to take a look at the back of our plug and locate pin 14. So we're looking at the back of the plug. We're going to count over 4 pins on the bottom row. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we have a white wire with a light blue stripe. This is the wire we're going to go ahead and interrupt. We're going to want to stay back from the plug and make a cut approximately right here. I like to stay back in case we need to do a repair and connect this wire back up. So on every cut, there's a plug side and a vehicle side. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to cut our wire. We're going to connect to the appropriate sides. So in your kit, you'll have a pair of yellow wires, one with a red stripe, one with a green stripe. The yellow wire with the red stripe goes to the plug side of the cut. Yellow wire with the green stripe goes to the vehicle side of the cut. If you do this backwards, the device will not pair to the vehicle. So you have to make absolutely sure that you've done this correctly or the device will not pair correctly. We're going to go ahead and we're going to put caps on the wires and crimp them. So we have our crimp caps installed and we've crimped them. We're going to go ahead and we're going to plug the plug back into the fuse box. So I'm going to go ahead, place the fuse box back where it belongs. Put the bolt in and the 2 nuts and just run them down hand tight. The airbag back in place. And I'm going to ground the ground ring from the ignition portion of the T-harness to one of the studs that the airbag sits on. I'll show you in a minute. So I've gone ahead and I've grounded system right there. I'm just going to tighten the 2 airbag nuts. nuts. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to pair our module. To begin the pairing process, we're going to locate the program button on the top of our device. We're going to hold the program button down while we plug in the 6-pin plug. When we do that, the LEDs on the front are going to begin to cycle. We're going to want to release the button when we have a blue LED and a red LED both lit. If we mess up, we can go ahead and we can repeat the procedure. We're going to hold the button, plug in the 6-pin. We're going to release on blue and red. We're now going to plug in the remaining connectors. Going to plug in our 20-pin. We're going to make sure we're not touching the button. We're going to plug in our white and our red. At this point, we're going to press and release the program button 6 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now we can count the flashes. We'll have 5 flashes with a pause, and it will repeat. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, pause, and repeat. We can count the flashes, and that's how we know we hit it 6 times, because when we hit it 6 times, it flashes 5 times with a pause. So now we're going to take the key, we're going to put it in the ignition, and we're going to start the engine. And we're going to let it run. Our red light's going to flash. Both lights are going to go out. The blue light is going to come back on and flash rapidly. At this point, we're going to go ahead and shut the key off and remove it from the ignition. We're going to unplug our white plug, our red plug, our 20-pin plug, and then our power plug. So I'm on the Fortin website, www.ifar.ca, and I'm going to click the support tab, and I'm going to click the Flash Link Manager tab. I'm going to download the software. I'm going to download, agree to the end user license. Then I'm going to open up. It's going to ask me if I want to make changes. I'm going to click yes. I already have it installed. You're going to continue on, and you're going to install the program. So if you click the link in the description, it'll give you a more detailed video on how to download and install the Flash Link Manager. So look in the description of this video for the link to our Flash Link Manager video. So we have the Flash Link Manager installed and running. This is what the screen will look like before we connect our module. I'm going to go ahead and connect the module. So we're going to plug our module into the programmer. I'm going to plug into the black 4-pin port. Now when we do this, we're going to come up with a screen that will actually not look like this, because you'll be in wizard mode. So you want to click the gear cog setting right here, select Pro mode, and then continue on to Pro mode. And then you will have a screen that looks like this. If you start inputting your information in wizard mode, you're going to reflash the module needlessly, because I've already loaded all the settings that you need. So when you go ahead and you put in the information, you will change the settings, and the outcome might not be the same as what I'm getting here. So with the screen open, don't worry about the exact model year. As long as it has the correct firmware, it's going to work. This is mainly so that you obtain the right guide when you're flashing the module. So we're going to go over here, we're going to click the decryptor tab. Going to go down, we're going to click send data. So at this point, we're going to begin the decryption process. So we're going to wait. Now you have to have internet access in order for this to work. Okay, so our module is being loaded here. Okay, so the process is complete. We're going to go ahead, we're going to disconnect our module and bring it back to the vehicle. So we're back in the vehicle. We've run the decryptor process. We're just going to plug in the module without holding any buttons. We shouldn't have any lights on the front of the module. Go ahead and we're going to plug in our white and our red. Now we're going to watch the 3 LEDs. We're going to lock the doors. We have a blue light when we lock and unlock. Our module is seeing our door lock pulses when we lock our doors. So we can go ahead and we can test the remote starting. So we're outside of our vehicle. We're going to go ahead and we're going to lock the doors 3 times. This will trigger remote starting. Our engine will run for 15 minutes. We don't come out and use the vehicle, it will shut off. We can shut it off by locking the doors 3 times from the remote. So I'm going to go ahead and start the engine. Now the remote stays active while the engine is running. We can open the doors. The engine stays running. To drive the vehicle, we would enter the vehicle without pressing the brake pedal. We would put the key in the ignition, turn the ignition to the run position, and then we would press the brake pedal. And as long as we put the key in the correct spot, the engine will continue to run. The remote starter will turn off. You can now drive away.